Good evening. This is the March 21st Finance Committee meeting. Our agenda this evening is the FY 2018 operating budget review, a capital improvements plan review, and we do have a couple of CPC articles that are in the warrant that we'll be looking at. And we're going to be talking about our annual report preparation discussion amongst the committee members and Bonnie. And we have three standing agenda items. I missed it. As we go through the warrant, we may be voting some of the articles. We have a light committee tonight. We do have a quorum, but there are only 4 of us, so if they're pretty non-controversial articles, we may go ahead and vote them. If not, we may wait till we have more of the committee with us. And then we have the standard articles, public input, member updates, minutes, and the ever-popular adjournment. So, Barney, if you'd like to start with the 2018 budget at this point, any changes or updates that you have, and then we can go from there.
There have been no changes to the 2018 budget as of today. I did provide you with a copy of the memo that detailed the last changes that we had, which is dated February 16th. So as we stand today, we are in balance with a small surplus of about $11,000. It does fund the school appropriation at the $807,638 increase. What it does not incorporate at this point is a separate line item budget for field maintenance, because I know that's been kind of in flux. And again, doing that doesn't change the bottom line, it just kind of reallocates where it's...
That's still being worked?
I do not believe so. I know that they're working on the MOU for the whole fields and building usage between the schools and Park and Rec and Highway Department. So I think that that's kind of an important part of whatever happens going forward. So again, there are no changes. We are in balance. There have been no changes to the appropriations. It incorporates the staffing increases that we have talked about all along within the Highway Department for a parks laborer and a few hours a week for the business administrator. Fire, we're adding the 6 paramedics with a January 1st, 2018 start date to be offset with a transfer from the ambulance receipts. Police department includes 1 additional full-time police officer. The school department includes 1 full-time ELL teacher. And under Elder and Human Services, it includes a full-time outreach coordinator and a part-time, under 20 hours a week, driver. So those are the staffing increases that we had planned for. There have been no changes there. I did...
Excuse me, Bonnie. I don't know if any of you listened in to the Selectmen's meeting where Mike Fontanella presented the input from the school committee regarding the 807. And basically what he reported was they were taking the $30,000 line item for watering the fields that we had put in, and per his request in the 807, in the line item request that he gave us, and they reprioritized that out of the operating budget. So they're going to spend that $30,000 on something else. I don't know what it is. Have you heard anything what they reprioritized in? And what Mike committed to do was to pay the water bill for the field out of the reserves, not out of the operating budget. I had a problem with that in the meeting, and basically was summarily dismissed. But I really think that that's bait and switch. But it is what it is, you know. They can really do whatever they want with the money. But what I said in the meeting was, you don't have any money at this point. You don't have any money until town meeting votes it. And Article 4 is our article. So I'm not sure we need to make a really big deal of it, but once again, you know, we have put money per their request in their budget, and they're doing something else with that money. So
I was a little bit disturbed by the fact that it's small peanuts compared to their whole budget.
Yep.
That they actually thought that it was important to reallocate that somewhere else. I didn't think that was,
Well, and especially after the fields were such a priority for them
That's
all
right.
last year, you know?
that's right.
None of it's
so I
very
just,
disappointing, for sure.
so I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. I don't think that, you know, there's really a whole lot to be done at this point, unless we really wanted to make a stink about it.
Well, just
we-
to find out where the $30,000 is being spent. I mean,
Well,
that's somewhere. That's it.
And you haven't had any success with getting more detailed
Not on-
information?
Not on that, not since.
But in general, in terms of their budget, and like other towns do?
Nothing that they haven't shared. Just,
Yeah, we haven't, we've only been able to validate the salary
Right, and then-
increases. So I don't have anything on the special ed increases. I'm not able to validate those, or any of the other, you know, details.
Okay.
right, this is something that I know I wanted to work towards the next cycle, to really have something crafted,
Okay.
you know, a little bit to help. So a lot of this isn't as much of the,
Yeah,
you know,
just-
there's more transparency. is what
Yeah,
I'm
just so
saying,
that
right? So-
everybody understands,
Right, so-
instead of, you know, it just, I think town meeting pretty clearly asked to know what we're spending on field maintenance last year. We tried to do that with a line item under the highway department, and had the rug pulled out from under us with that, so.
And the selectmen didn't support, right?
Nope, they basically remained silent on the issue, so, you know,
Okay,
so that's where we are, but I just wanted everybody to be on the same page as we go forward. Okay, sorry, Bonnie, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. I actually, was just calling something up because, I know it's kind of a segue into your report, but I'm gonna put this up on the screen, just so we can look at it. I kind of anticipated this being, you know, a topic. So I didn't want to lose sight of, you know, identifying what the field maintenance costs might be. So what I did is in your draft report,
Right,
you have
right.
a 2-page unstable document there. And feel free to mark this up however you want to. This is just a starting template. I did on the 3rd page, you can see the last bullet on the 2nd page just states that, you know, to continue the work of better identifying and addressing field maintenance costs through the following budget cycle. For 2018, the following items are identified as field maintenance expenses and are paid through several operating budgets to include highway, schools, and park and recreation as follows. So I did put it in here because this gets printed with your warrant. If you want me to take it out, I'm fine to do that. I just figured I'd offer it as an option to be able to show town meeting because they asked, you know, to be able to identify it. This would at least give them an idea of what those costs may be. And then maybe committing to,
Is that realistic, $922 for lighting?
that's actual, yeah, that's based on the,
They have a hell of a rate.
it's the cheapest in the state. But, you know, if you're using it more for evening, you know, use going forward, it's probably gonna increase.
Yeah.
This is just based on what was paid last year, so,
So this is the Lights Out alumni.
yep. Correct.
I wouldn't mind putting some wording in there indicating that the recommendation was to put this all together, but people won't run it around. We can do it, you know, to be in
That's
your
fine.
face, but I think come up with some wording to indicate that we wanted to do this and people are saying no.
However
Okay,
you want me to say it. I just figured it would be nice to
Oh,
have.
I
where
agree,
town meeting
totally should be there.
Wanted to know what they were.
And then somebody's gonna stand up and ask, how come this isn't just one budget item? And let somebody answer that, maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah, why isn't it? I'll ask the question.
Well, it's never been, correct? It's never been.
But it should be.
Right, so that, I mean, that's, if that's something we want to get to, then that's
I mean, this
definitely something we
this
should talk
must be an
about.
accounting nightmare for you.
It's just now,
Well, doing this. would
We've
be
been
a
talking
nightmare.
about it for a year, though.
I mean, you know,
This is not.
because basically what I
Right.
need to do, if I do this, I can do it, it's not a big deal, but I need to start splitting wages, because it's not like it's a, you know, full-time
Yeah.
person at Highway that does field maintenance all the time. It's based
Yeah.
on 4 months or 5 months of, you know, but I can do it.
Well, they had a year to work on the MOU, and now they're hiding behind the MOU as the reason they don't want to do it. And I have no issue, you know, just putting some verbiage with that so that it's clear what it is, so it goes out to everybody. And if they want to ask questions at town meeting, they can ask questions at town meeting. I'm fine with that.
Who's going to answer at town meeting?
Oh, I'm finance, I mean, you know, I know the details, like,
Well, I mean, answer what? What question? Why isn't that a?
Yeah, why isn't it just one bucket?
Well,
School committee didn't want to do it.
do we know how surrounding communities do this? Is it a line? I'd like, maybe I'll research that for the next
Yeah,
meeting.
fine.
Just, You know,
That's
maybe
fine.
if there's an easier way, you know, it's,
yeah, every town budget's a little bit differently, you know, every
I know.
community wants to see certain things, so
right.
you kind of have to be fluid for that.
I just think it would be easier, that's all.
well, it certainly would be clearer, you know, and if, you know, people are upset with the quality of the fields, they can say, is 120, it's actually 129 minus the 30 that we put in now.
Right, right.
So for the past year, it was 99,000. And for the coming year, it's as much as 30,000.
I mean, it's not a perfect science, though, because.
Oh, sure.
Well, like you had mentioned, we we're talking about someone's day, how much time are they actually putting onto the fields as opposed to other
Yep.
facilities in town, so I just think,
Well, I guess what I find disturbing about this whole thing is that the school is the primary user of this facility. So why don't they take responsibility for maintaining it? I mean, it looks to me as if there's a problem with the field, the school department goes to Parks and Recs or Highway and complains.
Mhm.
That's dysfunctional.
Yep.
That's all I have to say.
I mean, we do have a lot of youth programs too, so it's probably more of a balance than we think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think the schools definitely have youth priority, but there's definitely a very large component to the youth programs
Well,
outside, you know.
You look at the breakdown here, the schools have, if you take the $30,000 out, they got $5,000 out of the budget.
Mhm.
So that's disproportionate.
I see what you're saying.
So, all righty, so let's,
So
It's a
that-
good start, having this information, for
Maybe-
sure. We didn't have
No,
this much
thank-
before. We didn't even have this before, so this is,
but what, yeah, you and I, or anybody who wants to work with Bonnie on a bullet to head into the, that's fine.
I'll email this out in Word, that way you can.
Okay,
Stamp.
good. Okay.
Okay. Do you want to go through the rest of this report, or do you want to?
Yeah,
Okay.
so why don't we do that?
So, basically, I just tried to update this.
Bonnie, do you have another copy of that one?
Yeah.
You can have 3 copies.
No, I don't want to use this one.
Those two, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I updated this for the relevant numbers for fiscal 2018. So the 42,837,806 represents what is in Article 4 right now. That's on the first.
where are we, are we still doing the letter? Yeah, okay,
This is your report.
okay.
And the total increase is about 2.9 million from the 2017 level, and it isn't inclusive of school reserve spending, because that money doesn't get appropriated in Article 4. So the school reserves are, you know, another component of what they would have. Let's see, what else did I put in here? So for 18, I did put in the staffing increases that were requested with the fiscal impacts for each. And again, highway, fire, police, schools, and elder and human services. I did reference the, in that bullet below, the $807,000 increase in the school department appropriation, which includes the additional teacher that was referenced in the above chart. Plus, I also restated that for the second year, because last year we started it, so this will be the second year, we're including an additional $100,000 in capital to cover capital qualified items that were, used to be in their operating budget, but
Is it 100 or 200 this year?
it's 100 for their resource materials.
Resource
And then they're
material,
getting
and there's another
150.
100 and something for more computers, right?
Right.
Okay.
Should
all
we
right.
have a note on the fire, the fact that the fringe is as high as the salary is? Because that's,
Yeah, I just cut and pasted this in to get it in here. I'm gonna reformat this a little bit, make it look a little better, and I'll reference.
that's not looking, I mean, that's numbers, the numbers
Yeah.
are there, and there's a reason for that, but we need to explain that to
Yeah,
people, because it
it's
doesn't.
because of the OPEB. It's because the OPEB gets funded in full that first year.
But
where
it's
the-
only 6
There's
months
only
of-
6 months of, health insurance and the
So
other
we
things.
just need to explain that.
Yep.
'cause-
So, well, you've got a footnote on it, so if we can just expand the number 1 footnote
Yep.
to include that explanation. Will that cover you, Betsy?
Sorry, but it's because it's fully offset by an increase in the transfer from ambulance receipts account. That's not what that footnote is.
No, I know,
What,
but
sorry?
what I'm
Yeah,
saying
just
is there
expand.
is a footnote,
Yeah,
just expand on
sure,
that.
yeah, sure.
Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
You comfortable with
That's
that? Okay.
Let's see. So I did add, again, that school appropriation explanation with the capital item in there. Back page.
It's a real nitpick, but,
Yep.
and thank you very much, Chief, because it looks like salary savings would be $24,000 and 45 cents.
Right down the-
That's some close.
Cut and
That's
pasted.
some,
We'll just
real,
round that.
24K would be good, yeah.
Okay.
Cutting and pasting, that's all it is. On the back of that page, I did reference that for this year, we'll be putting $386,000 in the capital stabilization fund to start replenishing the remaining $28,000 balance. And then I just put a note that it was drawn down by the $2.9 million to offset the cost of the fire station. And that there are no specific earmarks for the funds, but there's plenty of projects. I did list the ladder truck, library roads, land purchases. I can expand on that or reduce it if you want me to not say anything.
No, it's fine.
And then I just referenced again, it's a 2/3 vote out. We're also putting in $166,000 into the debt exclusion stabilization fund in order to meet that desire to put 0.5% of the 2.5% increase towards reducing the excluded debt. So we've accomplished that, and we'll be able to push the excluded debt level down to what it would be in 2022 for next year. So we'll be able to add to the savings that we did to this year.
So that's actually a small savings to the taxpayer this year.
Yep.
Is there a figure that we could plug
I
in
could
there?
put a figure on it. The only guarantee I could make is that it will be different, because it'll be a figure on the single rate, which they will shift. and I
They'll
don't know
shift
where
it
they'll
later,
shift
we
it.
don't know, right, okay.
So but I could put one in just
But
to.
it's, in approximate,
Yep.
is it $10 a year per household?
Yeah,
Is
I
it
could put that.
$50 a year per household?
I will do that. I did reference the continued support of the $50,000 for capital for Parks and Recreation. $527,998 going into the blended CPC funds this year from mitigation and other cell tower funds.
Mhm.
All the budget and warrant articles are funded entirely through appropriation through the general levy and other revenue sources without any overrides or exclusions. Continued funding of maintenance outside of the operating budget with a combination of accumulated retired debt service and the use of our undesignated fund balance. So this year, we're going to spend $2.2 million on capital and maintenance items, and then we're going to put that $386,000 and the $166,000 away. So those are good things. And then I put the field maintenance thing in here after that. I didn't really change too much after the field maintenance section.
Okay, I didn't see that bullet before, so it's there. Okay.
Yeah, I might just try and reformat this so that it'll flow a little bit.
No, that's fine.
And this isn't a place to put a recommendation.
Oh, it is. This is a fine, FinCom's
Right, so-
letter to the
so
towns.
maybe
This
to-
absolutely
Maybe to
is.
that bullet, that's where we add it then.
This is,
Yeah,
this
that's
is where
fine.
we get to do it.
The finance
Yeah.
committee recommends,
Yeah.
if that's what we decide.
Totally. Whatever, yeah, that's, yeah.
So, yep.
I might cut some of these footnotes in down at the bottom.
Well, the paragraph on
Yeah.
financial policies and procedures needs to change because we really didn't do much with that this year, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't have the whole paragraph in there anyway. It kind of ends at the end, so following our written,
Yeah.
so.
All right. Another cut and paste?
Yep.
Yeah.
Delete. Delete,
It
delete.
needs to be, that whole thing needs to be updated or shortened or omitted or something. You probably still need it there because I think you still want to, I think you still want to reference the policies, right?
Reference it, yeah.
This is the same OPEB statement that was in
Mhm.
previous. I did not change that. And I did not change the other paragraph following that. I think it's still relevant, just because we did have increases, we did address staffing levels in a targeted manner. So I will send this out to you tonight in Word, and that way if you have any suggestions or requests or...
I mean, just thinking, I'm not as close to it as I was, but just, it's kind of like the gut feel for FinCom at this point. What is it you want to say to the town, right? Or what do we want to say? What are the issues we want to talk about? It says, the increased staffing is significant this year, and this is why we think it's okay, why it's necessary, or whatever. Maybe we don't want to talk about it at all, but just, this is our chance to
An
just
executive
put something out
statement,
there.
I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, right up front.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And an expected slowdown of growth in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Whatever we do has to be sustainable, right? All those things. I think it's always the underlying thing is that FinCom's main priority is the long-term financial stability of the town, right? Making sure that we don't put ourselves in bad shape.
But otherwise, Bonnie, I think this is extremely well-written and concise.
Like I said, you're not going to offend me changing it, so feel free. It's your report. So do you want to look at the slides or the warrant next?
Does anybody want to take a cut at the State of the Union paragraph?
I mean, I don't feel like I have the gut feel of where everybody is on these things, honestly.
Is this going to in the front or the end? Where is this usually on
It would go in the front.
Be the-
Add it to this. to the
Yeah,
right
it's
paragraph.
gotta be like an upfront statement. That, and then if you're interested in reading further, you can look at the detail. But I think like,
Okay, high points?
increased staffing. Sustainability of funding.
We drew down all the reserves, the capital reserves last year, so we're
Yeah.
replenishing those, right?
There's a party that wants to move some of the good news to the front as well, the AAA bond rating. I don't know, if that's going to be part of our success story here, and then add, we
It's
can
not
talk,
new news.
we
It's
can
like-
talk about the.
It's like 2 or 3 years old at this point, so yeah, but it's important we can continue it, but,
Some people may not know about it.
well, that's true,
You know.
that's true.
We continue to have that success.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously OPEB is forever looming.
Yep.
But we're making progress addressing it.
It's identifying you know, we're trying to see, we've already discussed that the state, the financial health of the state isn't getting better. It's trending down as far as money that we're going to receive from the state.
Yeah, we don't.
Today, it's like, not gonna
That
be
accompanied
better.
by a slowdown of growth. I mean, if we're looking, say, 2 years out, at the point will be fully developed, Dairy Farm will be, Pepsi will be in there, where we're at growth-wise commercially.
It's almost like a SWOT statement, you know, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat, you know. Those charts that you put together.
Yeah, right,
But,
right.
Tom's very tired.
Okay.
Yeah, we're certainly fortunate to be in this position that we are this year. I think that's probably
Yeah.
the lead-in thing. It's like,
Yeah.
Right, when you think of what we've done,
mhm,
you know, or what we're in the process of doing, the fire station in the fields,
right. And we still have growth
the new
to
staffing, and
paramedics and,
it's still a place where people want to move, and, you know.
Yeah, it's managing the growth rather than just having
Right.
budget creep.
right.
Okay.
Mhm,
I like that.
mhm.
We'll take a cut out and send it
Yeah,
out.
I'll send it over.
Okay. Okay.
Slides are worn.
Why don't we quickly go through the slides? And again, this is the basis of the TV program that we'll be taping. That goes out. Normally, chair and vice chair sits down with Bonnie and goes through it. And these are the slides we came up with. If there are any changes or additions, subtractions, I'm totally open. Now, I did forward this out to everybody, and I also, in the note, asked Greg if he was going to be available to sit down. If he's not available, is it anybody else interested in joining me? And Bonnie, I've done it alone before, but I think it's good. We haven't set up in the next couple of weeks.
She's a
It's
tape
probably,
thing,
it's
so
an
it's
hour.
at your
It
convenience.
takes an hour. We can do it fairly early in the morning. It's probably the best time to do it.
Okay.
So if Greg can't do it, I'll send out a,
Yeah, I should have availability if nobody else.
Okay. or whoever would like to join, we can do that. So this is basically just a restatement of what we basically just went through and then what we'll be going through here. But this is sort of the order that we go through it on the TV show and go from there. Okay?
Okay.
So,
So the first one is just the 2018 available resources. Basically states for recurring, revenues, we're looking at 2.6 million increase, or about 5.7% over 2017. And that's the levy. That includes local receipts. It adheres with all of our debt service requirements and that we don't let, things flow back into the operating budget. But it's a strong, just recurring revenue increase. For 2018, we're looking at the operating budgets funded versus 17, as you see here. This is kind of our standard chart. We show this pretty much every year. You can see there's about a 5.66% reduction in total spending, and that's because of capital. Because you can see, last year, where is it? Yeah, the capital of warrant articles, for fiscal 17, it's 8.4 million, because we took that 3 million from stabilization and used it towards, the fire station and other projects. So that's, that's an anomaly.
You can
but-
say in the fields.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Bonnie, the school reserve spending, is any update on that, or
This
is
is an
that just?
estimate.
That's
This is
just
an estimate,
Okay,
purely an estimate.
Okay.
So it will likely be different. Last year, I will say that in fiscal 2016, they spent less than they had stated that they would because they had, changes in their operating budget that they were able to recoup some savings. I don't know that will happen this
Right,
year.
okay. But there's no update to the last numbers we had, okay?
And the tech schools is just enrollment, basically, what
Correct.
happens drives that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Let's see, big ones are, the employee retiree benefits, and there's a slide for each one of these pretty much going forward, but, that's one that I've kind of broken out a little bit to show, what that 15% is made up of, because that's a big number. So for staffing changes, again, same chart, same graphic.
Now, these are the changes within the operating budget, as we've stated above, but Mike did mention that they did prioritize I think it was the assistant principal and one other head that they were going to fund somehow, I assume out of reserves, but this is just the head count
This is
that's
just what we were provided.
documented out of the, okay. Okay.
So if we get, a change, we can update.
We can update it, okay. So maybe we reach out to them and see what they want put in. Okay.
Let's see, so in general government, which, basically includes anything, finance, general administrative, selectmen, land use, there's some minor changes. Elections decreased to 3,500 because there was an additional election last year, or this year, there won't be next year. 43,000 in the increase for the assistant town administrator position, which was implemented mid-year in 17, which will be full year for 18. Public buildings increase of $10,000. That's just an additional expense that might be possible with the fire station coming online at some point in 18. I have no idea what the actual impact will be. But I will be looking to the architect and the cost estimators to get me an idea on what the utilities might be going forward when that building is done.
Now, excuse me, the 43,000 increase, is that just salaries, or is that salaries and fringes?
Salaries, because fringe is in the other budget.
Okay.
So, and all step and 2% COLA increases
Yep.
are programmed within general government. In public safety, there's a 24,000 increase for the full-time patrol hire. Again, I just referenced the full salary is partially offset by a reduction in overtime. And then there's about a 250,000 increase in the fire department budget for the 6 full-time paramedic hires. That impact is offset by an increase in the transfer from accumulated ambulance receipts. And then I just noted that it will provide an increase in the service level to ALS versus BLS, and that the projections that we have now indicate that it should be budget neutral with full recognition of the ALS revenue when we go forward. And steps and COLAs are included. School department appropriation, this is the data that was provided by the school department, so I'm not
Just leave it
wordsmithing
at this point,
is
yeah.
just up to where it was. I also referenced that the tech appropriation decreased by 53. I'll find the enrollment decrease, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 bodies, and then, just changes in funding mechanism for it.
And this is basically a year in arrears, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay.
Yes. Highway, or public works. So highway, roadway, transfer station, cemetery, and snow and ice. Roadway appropriation increases at 77,000. That's just to fund our roadway maintenance plans. 52,000 increase in highway for wages for an additional full-time parks laborer, and then a few hours for the admin. Wastewater and stormwater expenses up slightly, just based on anticipated increases in the DEP monitoring that's required.
Now, that's paid out of Clean Lakes?
No, not this
This
one.
one?
This is like a lot of the wastewater expenses too.
Oh, okay.
And so the high school treatment facility.
Yep.
There's a lot of oversight that's needed there. And the stormwater, what's paid out of here is only about $7,000 or $8,000 that we've had to be paying for the last 10 years. So the new MS4 permit stuff is paid from the Clean Lakes. So this is
Okay.
just the old stuff. And all steps and COLAs.
Yeah.
Right there. Health and Human Services, so that includes Elder and Human Services, Board of Health, and Veterans Agent. There's a $70,000 increase in Elder and Human Services to fund the full-time outreach worker, and the $15,000 increase for a part-time transportation driver. There's a $10,000 increase in the veterans benefits, just to kind of keep up with caseload. We're good this year so far, but, you know, it is increasing annually, so.
Thing, but I would make that veterans would be plural apostrophe. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I have a question. Is there something magical about 20 hours a week?
Yes, health insurance
Makes it
benefits.
It's benefit eligible at 20 hours.
Yes.
Because in my industry, it's 32 hours.
Yeah, 20.
Oh, okay.
The minute you get to 20.
You get full-time at 32 hours.
Right, okay.
Well, not here.
No, apparently not.
Well, 20 hours, once it's 20, you have to pay all kinds of benefits, but I'm sure they don't.
Okay.
Park and Rec, Culture and Recreation, which includes Park and Rec and the library. The only changes there are the general fund subsidy is adjusted at the 170,670, which covers, we're identifying it with particular expenses, the salary and benefits for the director and the assistant director. All steps and COLAs are programmed. I could put in here that the library meets the funding requirements, the MAR minimum. I mean, it exceeds what we have to provide for the library for the budget. We didn't put anything in here last year for it, but.
Why do you have the benefits included here and you don't for the other ones?
This is a general fund subsidy, so the general fund subsidizes the Park and Rec Enterprise Fund, and we appropriate it through Article 4.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to
I
identify
got it.
why
Okay.
that
I
number
thought you were
is
saying what it's
such
for.
an odd
Okay,
number.
I got it.
You know, so we did the calculations on it, and that's what it is.
Okay.
Good question.
Okay,
How much you pay
Fringe.
you for it?
Hmm?
How much you pay you for it?
Well, it just doesn't look consistent when you look at the other
Yeah,
ones,
no,
because
you're
we
right.
talk, and so we probably need to talk to that when you go through it. People don't think that, why are the Park and Rec people making so much more money than everybody else?
Yeah, it's-
Okay.
It's two positions with benefits, yeah. And I can break.
But benefits is a huge
Yeah,
part, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah, okay.
So Fringe, so here's that, 1,134,000, 15% increase, almost 60%. So medical premiums, we're projecting a 3.2% increase, plus the new hires. So that's $550,000 increase to that budget. OPEB funding, we have the minimum increase of 10%, plus we adjust for new hires, both in the, the year that we know we're gonna hire and in the year that we did hire. So any new additions that came on last year, replacement employees, we fund it in the following. So that's $314,000, an increase there. The retirement assessment increase of $241, that just comes from Middlesex County Retirement, and we get to pick it. Medicare funding, we look at all the salaries, and then I figure out how much, the 1.45% is that we need to fund. So that increased with new hires. It's not a big number, not a big increase compared to the others. And then, nope, that's not, we didn't decrease unemployment, that's.
I was going to ask about
Delete.
that.
Yes, we have 100,000 that we appropriate for unemployment. We've managed that very well in the last few years, so we have a pretty good service that helps us deal with our claims. So we haven't really hit that, so I think we're good where we are.
So is that an increase of 100,000?
It's just delete.
No, it's gone, it's not.
Delete the whole
Yeah, that was
thing.
from last year.
Got
So,
it. Okay.
and let's see, debt service. So total net increase of $225,000. We had a decrease in long-term debt, so we have some debt rolling off the books, but we have a big increase in short-term debt for alumni, for the fire station, for the other projects that we're managing. So the net increase is $225,000. We had, planned for this. It is part of the operating, so it was planned for the last year. It also funds the roadway plan, so we have NAGOG and new estate issues that we're dealing with right now, so.
In the short term, even medium term, this is putting a strain on any incremental projects coming down the pipe.
I've been asked a couple of times from a few different people, how much debt can we put on the books right now? And my answer is no, because we just put $9 million worth of debt, in some format, some long-term and some, anticipated to be short-term. So we really can't add any new debt until alumni is paid off. Because the fire station is assuming all of the debt that's rolling off in the next few years. Alumni is a big chunk of debt. It's about, it's $500,000 plus a year. So for 8 years, that's there. When that falls off, then we can look at, what else we can fund the projects. Unless you want to do an exclusion. That's the other option. Let's see. So these are just kind of highlights from the capital plan. I picked out some of the bigger ticket items.
So this is the slide that I'd like to modify, bullet number 3, $299,000 for PMBC.
Article 7, article?
Yeah.
Oh, this is Article, it should be, Keith just put it on Article 8 too, so I'm going to change that.
Okay.
We go with Article 8 now?
Yeah, Article 8.
Instead of facility assessment, it should be capital improvements.
Capital improvements.
Now, that's a relatively low number.
It was lower than last year.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys okay with that, or is that all you can do because you're crazy busy? Or is it, you did this because we didn't have any more money, or what?
Well, this is what was on our facility assessment report, and what was left over from last year. It was unfunded. If you look at the facility assessment report, this was a dip, a low point, but we're going to ramp up just when we don't have any money.
So, okay, so maybe once we get through this year's budget cycle, we should have PMBC come in and give us maybe a 2-year outlook.
Actually,
Or a 3-year outlook,
yeah.
because if there's any planning that can be done, I see the fire chief in the back of the room, and I mean, he's looking for a significant piece of equipment to put in his spanky new garage. So we've got that we know of.
Yep.
We potentially have the library if it goes through. We potentially have renovations to this building. So, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of
There's
stuff.
always land that
And
comes
then-
around, right?
Yeah.
Land always pops up, people want. Yep.
And
Yeah, so,
The maintenance really is the one that sort of ends up at the end of the line here.
well, it's not really maintenance, it's capital improvement. I mean, you end up replacing stuff because you don't maintain it.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about. So PMBC's talked about putting together a 5-year plan based partially on the facility assessment, which only includes 7 buildings,
Right.
and then bringing into that mix all the other buildings in town. So Darrell Baker has got the spreadsheet that he's been keeping, and we're going to be populating that with, what do we see in the next 5 years?
Well, and I mean, the facilities assessment is ancient at this point.
It is.
So-
That's why we just reference it.
Right, so, I mean, I think refreshing it, the way you're going about it,
Yeah.
I think is absolutely the right thing to do. And reasonably speaking, I mean, how long before you think you might have something to report back so we can plug it into planning? Or is that a year away, or is it?
No, I think we should have something probably by the summer. What's coming up, Bonnie? There's a bathhouse?
That's one thing.
They're doing the feasibility for that.
And that's what, 30,000?
Well, the feasibility is 30,000, and then I have no idea what the project cost is.
The feasibility study for the bathhouse is 30,000?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It would be not
See,
just,
you're in the
a-
wrong business,
I
Steve.
am.
I think it would be more than the bathhouse. I think it would incorporate the snack shack too, and so it's gonna be a bigger footprint.
Okay.
But, I mean, you got, tomorrow evening, Alicia's coming into CPC. And she has two projects. One is the 30,000 for the beach house.
Mhm.
And one is an incremental 30,000 for
Seating and.
300 King, the Castle in the Trees complex there. I don't know what's involved in that, but there's another 30.
Benches and things. like
Is it
that. Yeah.
$30,000 worth of stuff for that?
Yeah.
So,
Because those aren't on our radar screen.
okay. But she's coming into CPC to try to get our recommendation for this coming town meeting on that. Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay, so within the next budget cycle, we should be looking at an updated look at what your PMBC thinks
Yes.
is a 5-year plan.
Yep.
So we could start factoring that in. Okay, great, thank you. Oh, and on the Littleton Common Sewer Strategy Planning, this was a $600,000 estimate that the town approved $252,000 to get going last spring at the town meeting. They looked at going after a $150,000 grant, which apparently is not available, according to Keith. And they are looking at other potential sources of grants, but there are none found at this point, although last week when I talked to Keith, they weren't found. So the 252 that was approved last year, the 200 that they're asking for this year leaves another 148 to get to around 600. So there's another 150-ish hanging out there somewhere at some future date that I think somebody should be able to talk to at town meeting. And
But none of it's being spent at this point, right? We're just
No,
putting it away to get to the
they're-
600?
They did put out an RFQ for, a request for qualifications. And they did get them back. I know that there was a group that met last night to try and rank the applicants, and they're gonna bring 3 in for interviews. And once they rank them and they figure out who's the top ranked, submission, then they'll try and negotiate with that firm, so then we'll kind of know what the number is.
So the 600 is just an estimate at this
It was
point?
an estimate based on the previous study, so it could be, no, because it was a while ago, I don't know.
so I just,
Technology could have changed.
yeah, I think rather than it quote, just looking like $200,000, we need to remind people that they already ponied up 252. So this brings the meter up to 452, and we don't know what the meter is going to read at the end of the day.
We put a footnote on that number on this list here?
Yep.
Just indicating that, I think that's good information.
Yep.
452 of
252
600.
and-
452 of 600.
Yeah, there, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I get that.
Okay.
This next slide for the special town meeting topics, you had it on last year. So I put the library, I didn't know if you wanted to put sewer in there, or maybe this is the appropriate place to address it. Or not, or just leave it in the other slide.
Yeah, and here, I think, is where we could add, if it comes forward, I guess in the next 6 or 7 years, it's got to be an override. because we don't have the ability to fund $7 million inside 2.5 for that period of time. And Steve, last meeting, we reviewed a memo that Steve Venuti put together on the impact to the taxpayer.
Right.
You know, on a $409,000 house, it was like $164 or $5 a year.
Yep, so I can put that in here.
Yeah, if we could do that.
So this reads as if the grant is awarded, full town meeting would need to authorize funding. This implies it's this coming fall.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I should just
I
say a
would say
subsequent town.
6 months after.
Well, but it could be,
It could be years.
could be years after.
Yeah, it could
Somehow
be.
that needs to be clear to
Yeah.
people,
Right.
that they understand what they're, because
Yeah.
especially, we don't want confusion with the vote. What
Right,
the vote, I mean,
right,
what that
right.
really is for.
Way too important.
If the
You
grant-
have to get that wording right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll change that.
Yeah, if MBLC grant awarded, town has 6 months.
No?
But-
They have 6 months
Oh,
to,
from the award.
from the award, to come up with the funding, or you lose the grant. I mean,
Well, we
that's-
could say funding is anticipated, if the grant is awarded, funding would be anticipated to be 3 to 4 years down the road, something like that. So it doesn't sound like it's imminent.
Well, the vote has to be taken within 6 months.
Of the grant.
Of the grant.
Grant being
But so that's somehow,
awarded.
then we have to have the wording here about, it's in the- if it passes at town meeting.
Right, okay.
And once it's granted, it could be for any time over the next, what, 5 years?
Yeah,
We should say that.
in the next 5 years.
And then, once that happens, then that 6 month kicks in.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put the timeline.
And the impact of
Right. Yeah.
7.2 million, whatever it
Yeah.
was 164 or $5 a year.
And then the subsequent,
Empty facility.
right, that needs to
Right,
be.
Yeah,
and
more
I don't mind
specifics,
putting
that
that as,
Right.
the subsequent renovation of town hall.
So what are they looking for that, Bonnie, $1 million? Oh, 2 million now?
Is that more, is that better from your standpoint? More real?
Well,
It's more real, it's not real.
It's okay.
It's more real.
Okay, so I'll make those changes. Capital stabilization fund, I just put, it was established in 14. We have to put at least 1% of what we spend on capital every year in there. Just, I should put the amount that we're putting in, just as a reminder. That's the 386,000. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put the minimum, which would be like 27,000, but we're putting in 386, just to reference that. And that it's a 2/3 vote to withdraw.
I thought that was different for the debt exclusion versus, oh no, the debt just has to be used for debt, that was the
It has
difference.
to be used for something that would be
Okay.
debt exclusion eligible.
okay.
Then I've added the debt exclusion stabilization fund. So appropriated 532 in this past year to bring the debt level down to 2021 levels. That saved 17 cents on the single rate.
Okay,
You
so
want me to put
so
a
again,
dollar?
if it's 17 cents on a $400,000 house, it's about $65 or $68 a year.
Yeah, I'll put that in. And I'll put the impact, the estimated impact for,
Yeah, I mean, it's just take it to something that people can
Right, yeah,
understand,
right.
that's all.
okay. And let's see.
And these say FY '17?
Yeah, that's reflecting what we did in 17, so they should.
Oh,
Because we
okay,
did put
okay.
in that
Okay,
532.
okay, yep, okay.
So for 18, we're looking at putting in 166,000 to bring it down to 20.
I see, okay, right.
I could reverse that and put the,
No,
you know, the 18.
that's fine, that's fine.
I left the slide about the policies and the bond rating, I didn't change that from
Yep.
last year. And again, moving forward is still pretty relevant. I couldn't really think of changing it that much because it really is the same.
Okay.
Drivers, unless you want me to add something or change anything. And that's the last slide.
Okay.
So I will make some of the changes and then I'll send them out to you.
Yeah, now forward them out to everybody. Okay, and this is basically what we go over on the TV show. And normally, I just plagiarize from this and a few others for the town meeting. I try to keep the town meeting's slide presentation to 4 or 5 slides at the most. And bullet point slide, so not a lot of numbers, because people just glaze over. Right. Okay.
Now we have the warrant. This is the latest draft from this
Right.
morning. So there might be some small revisions coming forward, but I'll let you know what ones are anticipated to have maybe some small changes, and we can wait on those.
Okay.
This is where your town report will be inserted, so once that's finalized, we'll drop that in here too. And you wanted it towards the front, because I think in the past it's been towards the back, and I
Right.
find it.
I prefer it up front if it can be there. Okay.
So, I will start you with the special town meeting, if
Yep.
you don't mind. So that starts on page 8. I have one bill of prior year. So it's $450. It's owed for public buildings for facility expense. There was a boiler inspection that the Commonwealth of Mass did, and I don't know where they sent the bill, but it didn't find me. And so, no. So again, it's from fiscal 14, it's $450. And I can find any place to pay it.
If you were a business, he'd say, you didn't get the bill to me by now.
Yeah.
Not
with
paying
Bolton.
It's the Commonwealth of Mass, so they're gonna, what they'll do is they'll come back and they'll fine me in the amount that exceeds the bill and just.
I know, that's awful. Anyway,
Have a motion?
yeah, move to, not approve, recommend,
There you go.
Article 1.
Okay, so we have a motion and second to recommend Article 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Article 2, I have no line item transfers at this point, so I'm not anticipating any action to be taken on this, so nothing.
Okay.
Article 3 is to appropriate funds into the community preservation account. This is the blended CPA funds, and this is the allocation that CPC voted in each bucket to bring forward. So the total being deposited is $527,998. Primarily, it comes from mitigation funds from the 15 Great Road and Potpourri, and there's a small amount coming from conservation and cell tower funds, in the amount of $42,000.
So this is just voting on money going in,
Money going
nothing
in.
about money going out.
Nothing about going up. And again, it was
And this-
voted by the CPC.
This was voted by CPC in these proportions. So, look for a motion to support or not.
So moved.
Motion, any second?
Second.
A motion and a second to support the Article 3 as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So Article 4 is the library building project, and it incorporates both the vote of transferring the custody of the site from the school department, or as, actually, I think this, yeah, it has to go, I'm sorry.
It's from the school department
Mhm.
contingent upon approval of the grant.
Yeah.
It's the three.
Yeah, it goes from the school committee to the board of selectmen, and then the selectmen to the library. It's like-
But there's three components to
Right.
Article 4.
Right, so that's the transfer of the site. Then there's authorization for the library trustees to apply for any state funds that might be available under the program of the library building grants. And to approve the schematic design for the proposed the new Reuben Hoare Library Building. This typo there, fix that up. Dated January 5th, 2017, by Johnson Margaret Associates. So there's three parts. It requires 2/3 vote because of the land piece of it particularly. But it would, even if it weren't combined in this matter, you still need 2/3 vote to,
Right.
you gotta get the land in order to do the rest of it, so. So I don't know if you want-
Okay. Any feeling on this? I'm comfortable waiting for the rest of the group,
Yeah.
or not, or?
But number one, do we vote on it at all? And number two,
Yeah.
if we are, I think we should wait for the bigger group.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the land, now, this is based on the grant gets approved, and the land will transfer, right?
Well, you have to get town vote to transfer the land with a contingency on the grant, otherwise you can't, the grant's invalid. In other words, if this vote fails, the grant dies.
Okay.
Yeah, the application.
So we,
Yeah.
so this, outside of the library and everything else, we feel that the slope site should stay with the schools if nothing happens?
That's what will happen.
I mean, what's that?
Mr. DeCoste, we have an audience this evening.
Chuck DeCoste, 4 Matthew Drive. There's three components to this, Gary. There's, the first component is to accept the schematic design as it was
Right.
submitted on January 5th. The second is to allow the library trustees to submit the application,
Yep.
the grant application. It's already been done, so that horse has already kind of left the barn. But structurally, in order to follow the grant process, we have to do it, and we have a certain window through which we can do that. The third component is exactly what Bonnie said, you need a 2/3 vote because there is a land transfer. That is for the surplus land, and to the best of my knowledge, in the event that if this were to not pass, that would just go back to surplus to the schools. So there are some design drawings, engineer drawings that are being discussed. Mr. Chris Stoddard has given us his services and has kind of drawn the lines, rather than us spending several $1,000s, I think it was $30,000 or something like that
Yeah,
for us
it
to get
was.
the plans drawn up for us because there's so much acreage. Chris has done something, he just needs to get together with the schools in town and make sure that we accept the plans as he's presented them. But the slope site,
Yeah.
which I think is lot 3 or something on his design, would in fact go back to surplus to the schools.
Okay, and that, 'cause I do remember this being talked about late last year, as, as we looked at where a lot of the land didn't make sense where it was, because it went back to the earliest part of the century, really, right? I thought there was discussion of that being transferred to the town regardless of what happened, that's all, that's why I brought it up.
I think the school committee's vote was that they would declare it surplus for the use for the library.
Okay.
So if that doesn't happen, then it reverts back to the school.
Okay.
The language is actually specific to another town board or department,
Yeah.
not specifically for the library, but if in fact it doesn't go through, then it would just remain surplus property, and they'd have to take another vote in order to sign it.
And where is the selectman on this article? I know
We
you
haven't-
guys
we
voted
haven't
to,
taken- we haven't
but
taken
you haven't
position.
taken a vote on it. Okay, when do you guys vote
Monday.
articles? When do you vote articles?
Monday.
This coming Monday? Okay. Okay.
That's good, too.
We have a
Right,
light
right.
committee tonight anyway, so we'll probably hold off on this one until we have more people, but then we'll have your vote prior to us coming back together, so that's fine. And when does this go to print?
22nd-ish.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
what?
I think it's around the 22nd.
22nd or 23rd.
Okay, so we're, okay, we'll get our next meeting in before that, okay. Okay, so we'll hold on this until we have the full committee, or more of the committee.
Article 5 makes 2 capital adjustments for
Oh,
fiscal.
excuse me, Chuck, one thing that we did discuss earlier was that one thing we would do prior to the vote would be to stand up and say, if it goes through, and it's a $7 million project for the town, this is what it will cost the taxpayer. And if it goes through, probably in the next 5 to 6 years, it's going to have to be an override because we don't have the room within 2.5 paying for alumni and the fire station taking up the bulk of what we had available. So we just so you guys know, I mean, we plan on saying that, and it's, I don't know, $165 on a $400,000 house. So people at least have that information going into this vote.
Yeah, and we are in the process of scheduling an information meeting prior to town meeting.
Okay.
So that some of that information can be
Disseminated at that point as well. Okay. Well, we have our Finance Committee report, TV show that we do. So we'll talk about it there.
Good.
You'll talk about it in your meeting. So, and it should be hopefully pretty well vetted before town meeting, but at least we can give the people the information.
Right.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Article 5 makes some adjustments to the 2017 capital improvement plan. One is for the sewer strategic plan. This is where the $200,000 is being funded that was talked about earlier. It's in the special so that work could start, after May town meeting rather than waiting for July, if we're able to negotiate a contract. And this does have the explanation, it increases the 252 to 452, so it is printed directly in the book for people to be able to see. This-
Okay, and before town meeting, we will have information on what we think the real number might be,
That's our goal, yes.
because what we were saying, Chuck, earlier was that back in May, when Paul and Zimmerman and
Megan?
Megan made the presentation, the estimate was 600,000, of which 252 was approved last year. We're going for 200 more. They thought maybe there was some grant money, but doesn't look like maybe there is grant money, or maybe there isn't, I don't know. But in any event, we should have a better idea what the number should be before town meeting. It's unlikely that 450 is going to be enough, so.
We're interviewing this week. We're interviewing the finalists,
Oh, okay,
so hopefully we'll be able to make a decision by week's end
great.
and get somebody on board that
Okay.
can fine tune the numbers and really get us a deliverable number.
Okay, good. Because I think, we've asked for 250, now we're asking for 200, and what is likely to be the Megillah that we'll end up with, just so we tell the taxpayers what to expect.
Do we have the RFQs back now with numbers in them?
They were not priced.
Yeah,
What's that?
They were not priced.
They're not priced, so you have to interview them to get a price.
Okay. All right.
The next item is for Elder and Human Services. This is in the special because we have the opportunity for a van acquisition. Pam applied for a grant and received it, so the van is valued at $61,170. Our local match is $11,640. So this is a nice acquisition for the transportation program, which is pretty heavily used. So again, it's $11,000 towards a $60,000 piece of equipment, so.
Okay. Have a Motion to support or not?
When we gonna have a number on the sewer again? I just want, this is another one of those things we should wait, and even, if that's
So we
something
can,
we
so we
might
can
have to
have the language
Yeah.
actually state how much it is?
if we know it, and certainly if we,
Yeah.
we really expect to have it in the next couple of weeks, a number?
We're interviewing the three finalists on Thursday, so I don't know.
That's just how
I
soon.
don't think we've established an expectation for when we would get the numbers back from them, so
Okay.
I would anticipate that a couple of weeks would be reasonable, but I
Would
don't
wait,
know.
then, right?
I'd be speaking out of school if I told you that.
Okay.
I'm okay if you're,
Yeah, I agree.
okay, so we're going to hold on Article 5.
Do you want, you can do 5B if you're comfortable. You can support 5B and hold on 5A. Just say that, you know, your recommendation's forthcoming,
Okay.
if you want.
Sure.
Sure.
I want to recommend Article 5B of the special town meeting.
Second.
Second? I have a motion and a second to support Article 5B as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Okay, so 5B is okay.
Article 6 is a cleanup. We appropriated the funds, or we allowed the borrowing for the acquisition of 34 Cedar Road from the Water Department at the Fall Town meeting. So what this does is rescind the borrowing authorization and just pays for it out of their undesignated fund balance. So it's just, they wanted to do a cash acquisition initially, but their cash hadn't been certified yet, so this kind of closes that loop. So the
Oh, I
borrowers.
see, you basically gave it to them and then we're paying for it.
So this is basically housekeeping.
Yes.
In one pocket out the other kind of
Yes.
thing. Got it.
Okay. All right, entertain a motion on Article 6 as written.
Move to recommend Article 6?
Second?
Have recommendation and second on Article 6 as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass unanimously. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, then we go to the annual. So Article 1, Article 2, Article 3 is a zoning article.
We don't normally do that.
I don't know anything about that yet, so defer.
Oh, baby.
Article 4 remains as the operating budget. As it stands today, this is the article that I have that does not, you know, separately call out the field maintenance. It's the article that you've seen previous to that. There have been no changes.
Yeah, we'll hold on that till the full committee's in.
So on page 20, you have Article 5. These are the 2018 revolving funds. This is the standard.
Any new ones?
There aren't, but I think there will be. The school committee has requested that they add another one, and I haven't got the details on it, so you might want to wait until that one comes through so that you can review it. I think it's going to be for some type of technology fee that people would purchase their Chromebook and then they would own it at the end of their school tenure at the high school or something like that. But I don't have all the details. It just came up this week, so
Okay,
you may want to wait.
so we'll hold on that.
All the others are the same. This is the Water Commissioners article, as they requested. You can see that there is a large increase in the user charges, but they are incorporating the fee increase plus the increased demand for water with the, that site coming back on. They're very fine.
Good old very fine.
Can't think
Been
of
gone
it,
for
like,
years.
what's So this is as submitted by the Water Commissioners, and I did review it.
And this does not recognize the incremental revenue for Very Fine or PepsiCo or whoever it is.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But this is as Scott presented it to us.
Correct.
Okay.
And this, I think he did revise the revenue projection slightly up. Let me, he sent something in this week. Let me get what he sent to you, because I was out
Okay, then we'll hold.
today.
Okay,
And that way you can just at least look at the most recent version.
okay.
Article 7, I'm going to request that we revise this, because when I was crafting the article to address the field maintenance, you can see in here I culled out the 26,000
Yep,
that's used for field maintenance and as a transfer to the general fund, so I don't want to do that yet until we have all of the pieces moving, so I'm going to shift this back up to expenses. That's where it came out of, so I'm just going to redraft this. But it won't change the bottom line, so you can wait until
Let's
after.
gonna get Chuck to work some magic for us on that one.
Chuck, do you know if there was discussion in your meeting that there's a separate meter for watering the fields up at the high school? Do you know if that was actually put in?
It was,
It was.
yes.
So,
So the meter was supplied by the water department, it was installed by the schools.
now, okay.
So they paid for the installation, but the water department supplied the meter, as I
But
understand.
I know they updated the meter a while ago up there, and that caused a lot of agita because apparently it was the old one was misreading and they got a big bill and all this hoo-ha.
The other one was accurate.
Yeah, flip a coin, which one? But there is a meter on the line that goes out to the field.
For irrigation.
So whatever Jim's people put on the field will know, and Mike agreed to pay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just like Kerper Field has a meter there, and that's.
Right, and then that gets
Youth
charged,
soccer
yeah.
pays for that.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, so Article 8 is the capital article for fiscal 2018 items. And most of these are, you've seen what we're doing here is building the explanation, so you can see if you get to page 27, there's a few explanations that still need to be filled in. There's also placeholders for the park and rec items, those two $30,000 items, in case for some reason they weren't funded through CPC, I would need to add them in here and adjust some other numbers, like the appropriation to capital stabilization.
If I could be picky again, under Article 8, can we change that to capital improvement recommendations?
Oh, sure, for the 299. Yep, capital. Okay. So you might want to wait until that one's done.
So we get the explanations, yeah.
Yeah, and there's some on page 28 that explanations are coming in. I just gave Keith mine for the financial software this evening. So he'll have that added in tomorrow.
Okay.
Article 9 is the Community Preservation Committee budget, assuming that the two $30,000 items get approved. So you're going to want to wait on this one too. because
Right, because we won't
CPC
know
hasn't
until
voted yet.
tomorrow.
But if they do approve it, this is what the article will look like. Those two $30,000 placeholders in Article 8 will go away. And I think everything else they did vote to approve. It's just those two items. Article 10 is the 2% adjustment to the grids for the personnel bylaw employees. This 2% is funded within Article 4. So as an example, if this did not get approved, then there would be surplus balances in Article 4 that I could not pay out. It's just, I have to pay them at a lower rate. But this article is funded in Article 4.
So does this say everybody gets a 2% increase, or this is just adjusting the schedules now when you go through the reviews and so on, the
Right,
schedule is different?
Exactly, yeah.
But you have already, but then you say it's already been funded in Article 2, so, Article 4, sorry.
Yep. So what
the
we do
assumption is
is,
that everybody's gonna get this 2% raise?
the assumption is.
Okay.
You know, but it's up ultimately, you know, in the case of this, it's by the department head. If there were an employee that were not performing satisfactory.
Right.
That performance review process happens in May and needs to be done by June.
Okay,
So for July. So if it wasn't satisfactory,
Okay.
then they would not get it. And
okay.
So theoretically, there could be small sums of money left over in the salary line if somebody didn't get a raise.
Correct.
Do they have a flexibility with this as part of that? This is kind of off topic, almost part of it, but, so somebody gets 0 and somebody else gets 3% or 4%?
No,
No,
no.
okay.
Yep, okay,
It's either you get it or you don't.
okay.
And this just identifies the positions, so. It also addresses the other bylaw grids that are B1, B2, and Schedule D, which is fire on-call, just to create parity within the group, so everybody gets the 2%.
Does it say what's the total impact of this? What is the number?
God, I had calculated, I think it's about 78,000.
FinCom, we have to ask.
Yeah. I think it was like 78 and change.
Okay. And that's over how many employees we have? About. It's,
Oh, this is the bylaw, just the bylaw employees, so. God, I,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Did you want to vote on that one, or?
Waiting on our quorum.
Oh, just to jump on the next one, Article 11 is the amount that we need to put into stabilization to maintain that 5%
Yep.
reserve. So that's 80,894. And you can see the balance in there is just over 2 million.
Okay, do I have a motion on Article 10 to accept as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the motion is second to accept Article 10 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's passed.
Again, Article 11 is
11.
just to increase that appropriation into stabilization to maintain the minimum 5%.
I'll move to recommend Article 12.
Second?
Second. Motion is second to accept Article 11 as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
You might want to wait on Article 12, depending on the CPC votes, because Article 12 appropriates funds into the capital stabilization. So if CPC doesn't approve those two
Then
recreation
the
items,
60,000,
then we
this
want
has
to
to
do
be
amendment
reduced by
to-
60. Okay, we'll hold on that.
Um,
I don't think there'll be a problem, but it's a good idea to hold.
just in case.
The debt exclusion stabilization?
Yes, this takes that 0.5% from the levy, the 2.5% increase, and allocates it into the debt exclusion stabilization fund. It's 166,000 and change. What that will do is allow us to reset the debt level for the excluded debt down to the 2022 level. So it's a direct savings to the taxpayer. I know I referenced it earlier in the meeting. We did an appropriation into it last year. It saved, 17 cents on the rate.
So is this about the same amount?
It would be a little incrementally less, but, we can calculate the amount, we can estimate the amounts out.
So it's in the same $60 to $70 range on the average house. I mean, that's basically what it's looking like. Is that?
I'm missing something here. We're putting money into a stabilization fund here.
Mhm.
How does this lower somebody's taxes?
Because what we're gonna do is we're putting it into stabilization. This fall, we will take it out before
Okay,
we
that's
set
the
the
part I
tax
was
rate.
missing.
So at the
Okay.
fall town meeting, we're gonna take it out and apply it to the rate, because we might have more.
Assuming it passes
that
at fall
we can
town
put
meeting.
in. Right. I would find it hard to believe.
I would too, but I just,
No, but I
make
think.
sure we're clear on the whole story
But I
here.
think that's part of the presentation of the article.
Right.
is
We will be
Tell
back.
people that we'll be expecting to come back in the fall, take it out, and it will be worth $60 on your tax bill, or $15 a quarter or whatever on your tax bill. Okay.
So this is great. I don't know any community that's doing this.
So,
This is big.
okay. So you don't see any changes on this?
No. No.
Okay, to have a motion on Article 13?
Move to recommend Article 13.
Have a motion,
Second.
second. Have a motion and a second to accept Article 13 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay.
Article 14 is the same as last year. There is a trust fund, Bradford Sampson Relief of Animals Fund, that Elder and Human Services was granted $4,000 last year. It's the same grant amount for fiscal 2018 for animal assistance care for people who need and cannot afford the services.
In how many years have we done this?
This will be the second.
Second year. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept Article 14 as written? A motion, second, anybody?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept Article 14 as written. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passed.
Article 15 is for both the senior citizens and veterans tax work-off programs. There's no change to the veterans. We checked with the veterans agent, and he's fine with this amount at $7,000. We are adjusting the senior citizen one. It previously was at $55,000.
Right.
And it has been for a number of years. But in the last few years, we've had creep increasing with the minimum wage increases. So this does
you
not.
have fewer hours.
Right.
So this basically gets us back to the base number of hours.
Correct.
And Chuck, you guys are okay with this probably?
Yes.
I mean, I you know, can't hold you to it, no vote, but I assume you're okay with it, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very popular program.
Great. Well, when she's in the country.
Hey, I've been here a long time, I've been here for.
You've been here for three meetings in a row, and you're getting ready to leave.
I haven't been late.
She must be getting ready to leave again.
No, not till June.
Great. All righty, have a motion to accept Article 15 as written.
Move to recommend Article 15.
Second.
Second.
You got that?
Okay, have a motion and a second to accept Article 15 as written. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's passed. Great. Article 16.
We don't have the number yet.
Okay, we'll hold.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
this is just one of those administrative ones.
Zoning, we don't normally vote on. What is this? Is this part of the library?
Looks like it.
Oh, this is probably the town hall part of it. Because there's this, we have to segregate the library piece that would be looked at for a new building, but this building sits on school property as it is designated now. So I think that this carves out the municipal. And we own, technically, the Board of Selectmen own the athletic field down by the middle school. So we'd have to transfer from the Board of Selectmen to the school committee that
There
piece.
you go, Chuck.
They would
Let's
transfer
charge 'em
this
around.
piece. And again, it's 2/3.
So are these contingency things on this one too, based on the library? We're gonna do this anyway.
We are doing this anyway. That's, we held off on this because we hadn't gotten plans back yet, and that's what I was speaking with her about earlier. Chris Starr
Okay.
has presented some plans for us. He's a PE, so he's able to stamp the plans, and we just need to accept them.
Okay, so this is basically just housekeeping, that should have been done a long time
It's
ago.
not a fiscal impact to
We don't,
this.
we don't need
Arguably, there would be
to
two
vote on
ounces.
this, right? Okay. 20, Clean Lakes Committee, acquire land.
Yeah, we're waiting for more information.
Okay. So who will be coming in to talk to us on that? I mean, or,
Corey is generally our contact for Clean Lakes Committee. He's been very good. So Keith reached out to him today and said
Okay.
he needs some more information, so
okay,
I'm
so
expecting
we'll hold on
something.
that.
Is there a dollar? And we don't know yet, right? What,
I think it's a donation. I mean, it's a straight out donation, but
Oh,
because
it
it
is.
involves a transfer of land, it requires a town meeting vote, even if donated.
so it says acquire, but it's really being donated, okay,
Yeah.
acquired by donation. Oh, I see. It says to acquire by purchase, gift, or eminent domain, that's why it's,
So we need to do this in order to be able to accept the gift
okay.
of the stench.
We always do friendly takings because it closes the loop more efficiently than just a donation. So it's a donation, but we formally go through the process of a taking.
Legally, it'll be.
Okay,
on-
I definitely got, why I asked, thank you.
And then Article 21. So this is the land acquisition of 31 Foxborough Road for conservation purposes.
Okay.
So this is the one that, the Joyce Williams parcel, so we did not get the land grant that we voted on in the fall, so we need to come back if the town is still interested in purchasing the property. The proposal here would be that it would come entirely from CPC funds. They are still trying to apply for a different grant, but if that is not successful, then we would borrow for the $300,000 that we're trying to get a grant for. And again, the funding from that would come from CPC.
This is the one that leaves 23 cents in the
Yeah,
open
pretty
space
much.
bucket.
Okay, I was
Or
gonna say, yeah,
CPC.
so that's,
So we're done
we're done.
for a while. And in the last CPC meeting, Don MacGyver and Rick Finley came in with, they didn't have the eligibility request, but they wanted to discuss the Smith property. And what they're going to be looking for, and I have no idea how we're gonna fund it, is about $400,000 for the Smith property. And I pushed back a little bit, and at the same time, they were saying there might be some money that Joyce Williams property was looking for a conservation restriction on the rest of her land. And I pushed them on it, saying, well, if you could do the conservation restriction or the Williams land, which would you do? And they both said the Williams land. And I said,
Williams and Smith.
the Smith land, I'm sorry, they both said the Smith land, I misspoke. And then I said, okay, if you could do the Smith land or the big Williams land, which would you do? And they wouldn't answer that one. So they both really, really think the right thing to do is to go after the Smith land. But again, we're draining the swamp as far as CPC funds that would be available for it. So it wouldn't be a short-term thing that CPC could help with.
Why would we put conservation restrictions on the Williams property if we're buying, if it's going to the
You know,
conservation group
there are
anyway?
two pieces of land.
Oh,
And the piece of land we're purchasing is actually landlocked.
okay,
And she's maintaining some number of acres between what we're proposing to buy and her house.
oh, I see.
And, you know,
Oh, I see.
theoretically, she could
Right,
build houses on that.
right,
Or not, but that's
okay, okay, I didn't
a
understand.
discussion for another
Okay.
day, but
All right.
that's, it did come up in a CPC meeting, and it does seem like both Don and Rick are more focused on the Smith property than the rest of the Williams property, just as informational purposes. Okay?
That might change the thought process of some board members, though.
I'm sorry?
That might change the thought process on this article then, of some of the board members, if we're looking at it. Knowing that information, I didn't know that information until I came here today, about the Smith property.
Well, this is their number one priority.
So they're not.
This is their number one priority.
And the Smith property is one that already has the conservation restrictions on it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And the real issue in their mind, the Smith property, is Paul Smith was not anybody's fool. When he went and did the conservation restrictions, he maintained, I think it's two building lots right in the middle of it. And they could sell those two building lots. Somebody could build two houses on them. And they would have basically an estate out there. They'd have, I don't know how many acres is out there, but a ton of acres around each of those houses. And the town then would not necessarily have access, to that land, because it'd be your private property or my private property. So that's the fear, if you will, that the conservation people have, that they won't be able to, they'll lose the opportunity to have that be town property. Okay. Yeah, we can vote on it. I don't mind waiting for
Yeah,
the
we should
bigger
wait.
group.
I
We'll
think we
wait
should
for the
wait.
bigger group, okay.
And maybe, somebody should come and talk to all that stuff out. Maybe, yeah, I guess you can work this one.
The town bylaw, votes, bylaw, oh, it'll be a long night.
Yeah, Article 23 is it came out from the Municipal Modernization Act, so it's just changing the revolving fund process from being that annual vote that we see, beginning of the warrant, to incorporating some town bylaw around it. So you have to identify more specifically, the sources of the funds, the uses of the funds for each. So these are all existing revolving funds. There's not any new ones in here. It doesn't take effect until fiscal 2019. They want us to vote it now, but it's for fiscal 2019, which is why we have the old revolving fund format.
So this is not unique to Littleton?
Every town.
This is the,
Yeah. Every town has to do this. So it just provides a little bit more transparency, and what will happen going forward from here is you will see the annual limits still voted on annually. So it's not that you're going to lose sight of it, it's providing some context for the detail behind it. That's kind of lacking right now in bylaw. So you could look this up online and,
so what happens if town meeting doesn't do it, doesn't approve it?
I have no idea.
I mean, it's state mandate,
No,
right?
that's why-
I mean,
that's why
why are we
that's
voting
still
on state mandate?
I guess we have no revolving funds, I don't, for starting in fiscal 19.
Okay. 24, we wouldn't necessarily vote on the liquor licenses, borrowing authorization. It's a housekeeping article, we normally do vote on that. Have a motion to support or not?
25.
A5.
Second?
Second?
Yep, second.
Okay. A motion to support and a second on Article 25 as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Article 26 also came out of the Municipal Modernization Act. Basically, it allows us to use bond premiums that we might get on new issuances. So sometimes, we get $100,000 or $200,000 premium or more. We can't use that towards the debt. So they give us the money and it goes to the general fund and gets closed. Or it gets applied, if it's excluded debt, it gets applied towards the debt service in future years. This allows us on previously authorized projects like the fire station, like Alumni Field, if we get bond premiums out of it, to reduce the debt that we're gonna place. And we're replacing this debt inside the levy. That's kind of an important, tool that we would like to have at our resources. So we do have to vote it because you're allowing it for previously approved projects.
And what kind of premiums does Steve usually get? I mean, does he get?
The last time, we really haven't gotten any premiums, but this is a big issue. I mean, we're looking at, we haven't done several $1 million in a while.
Right.
And I think on the high school, or not in the high school, on the middle school, we did get maybe 200,000 or 300,000 in
Okay.
premium. So it's,
It's bigger than the bread box, we should pay attention to it, okay.
This is just something new and different. I recommend we wait to the full board just so they're aware of this, because otherwise we're gonna go by it next
That's
time.
fine, that's fine, I'm okay with waiting, yeah. But it's,
But we're
It's a
gonna,
housekeeping.
wanna do it, yeah, I
I
know,
think so,
but
but no, that's fine.
just my recommendation.
Article 27 is, again, housekeeping compensating balance agreement. This is in every year. Allows the treasurer to enter into agreements with the banks.
Okay,
You need us for that?
yep, motion, support.
Vote
Second.
to recommend Article 27.
Second. Motion and a second to support Article 27 as written. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, passes.
I would hold off on Article 28 at this point. I had made a recommendation to Pamela at the Director of Elder and Human Services
Mhm.
to look at increasing this. There are communities out there that, say the exemption amount is $500 that somebody is eligible for, and these are people that really need it. We allow them to go up to $750 because we increased it by 50%. There's communities that allow 200% increase. I don't know, what the communities around us are like, and I asked her to do a survey and see if we're, in that, in the right market, and there is, a lot of pressure to provide some relief to the elder, groups and the elder and disabled, and that's what this program really focuses on, so
Okay.
we might see a change to that.
Okay, all righty.
That's all I got.
We have any public input? All you publics? No public input? Member updates? Gary?
no?
Steve?
I'm going to go before school committee on Thursday night and be interviewed for, to be the representative of FinCom.
Great, well, good luck.
Thank you.
Do you have competition, do you know?
I don't believe I did.
Okay,
There you go. Great to see you back,
absolutely. Yeah,
that would be bad.
Absolutely.
We need you.
Absolutely. All righty, well, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, Betsy?
No, I move we get rid of all the snow and springtime comes tomorrow.
It came yesterday.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Yes. Okay, do you have any minutes? We had the one set that we put out as the amended
All
ones.
the changes you sent them back out.
I'm sorry?
After I made the changes you suggested. I
Yeah,
sent
send it
them
back out. Is everybody okay with the minutes from the last meeting? Motion to accept?
Oh, move to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. We're up to date. And ever popular, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Consider it closed. Flip this way.